Welcome to We Are Women, Unapologetically, the podcast that talks about the good, bad, ugly, and awesome. Careers, life transitions, confidence, and everything in between. Because shift happens, but you don't have to do it alone.
According to a 2024 McKinsey Women in the Workplace report, 42% of women report feeling continuously exhausted. That's nearly double the rate that it was just 5 years ago. If you've been feeling disconnected, numb, or like you're running on autopilot, this one's for you. Because today, I'm pulling back the curtain on a truth too many high-achieving women carry in silence. You're not lazy. You are just exhausted. And maybe you are grieving a version of you that used to feel alive. A version of you that enjoyed concerts, dining out, and spontaneous road trips with the girls. But now you feel like you have no energy. My name is Jessica Cumming, and welcome to We Are Women Unapologetically. Let's dig into what happens when ambition turns into exhaustion and what you can do to reclaim yourself. I want to start today by asking you a really important question. When was the last time you felt fully alive? Not just productive or successful, but actually alive. You might be in a season where you wake up, start your day, do all the things, but deep down, you feel like a shell of who you once were. It's not failure. It is a red flag, and I'm here to let you know it deserves your attention. A recent study by the American Psychological Association found that nearly 79% of employees had experienced work-related stress in the month before the survey. Nearly 3 in 5 reported negative impacts of work-related stress, including lack of interest, motivation, or energy. What you might be mistaking for laziness. Maybe your weekends are spent recovering instead of living. Maybe you're doing the bare minimum, not because you don't care, but because there is nothing left in your tank. Maybe you're asking, what happened to the me that used to dream? You're not broken, you're not behind, and you're definitely not lazy. This episode is your permission slip to stop blaming yourself and name what's really going on. That slow burn of invisible burnout, the grief that comes with evolving, the exhaustion of carrying it all silently, especially when you're expected to separate the personal from the professional. Here's the truth. Most high-achieving women are juggling both personal and professional crises at the same time. But yet only one of those is safe to talk about at work. Research from Deloitte's Women at Work 2023 report shows that 53% of women report higher stress levels than they did a year ago. And nearly half those say they feel burned out. Yet 77% fear career repercussions if they discuss mental health challenges at work. You're told to bring your best self to the table, even if you're quietly unraveling inside. And it's not just the big things, death, divorce, caregiving. It's also the daily emotional labor, the invisible load. The New York Times recently called it the mental load crisis, and it's disproportionately affecting women. Think about it. Women make up 75% of all unpaid caregivers in America, according to the Institute for Aging. That is on top of your professional responsibilities. And let's be honest, the pandemic only magnified this disparity. You were taught to compartmentalize, but your nervous system doesn't know the difference. Your energy gets depleted either way. And it's okay to say, I am tired of pretending everything is fine. I want you to pause just for a moment. Place your hand on your heart and take a deep breath. Feel that? That's you. You are still here, still breathing, still capable of change. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. What is actually happening inside your body when burnout turns to numbness? This understanding changed everything for me, and I think it will for you too. When we talk about burnout, we often focus on stress, but that numb phase, that is your body's protection mechanism kicking in. Dr. Emily Nagoski, healthcare educator and best-selling author, explained it this way. Your feeling brain is designed to mobilize resources to deal with stress. But when those resources are depleted and the stress doesn't stop, your brain has to make a choice. That numbness, that's not laziness. It's your brain trying to survive. Here's what's happened psychologically. Your brain has been flooded with stress hormones like cortisol for so long that it's down-regulating your emotional responses. Your nervous system is locked in a state that neuroscientists call dorsal vagal shutdown. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and motivation, it is literally getting less blood flow. No wonder you can't just snap out of it. And here's what makes it worse. Our culture does not recognize that numbness is a crisis. If you are still functioning, still showing up, still getting things done, even at a reduced capacity, most people don't even notice. But you notice. You know something is wrong. And that disconnection from yourself might be the most painful part. Recent research from the Harvard Business Review found that this type of high-functioning burnout is prevalent among women in leadership positions, with 68% reporting they continue to perform while at work, experiencing severe symptoms of burnout privately. The problem is not your ambition. The problem is a system that demands constant output without sustainable input. It's time to change your equation. Sometimes it takes a moment of disruption to wake up what's really happening. For me, that disruption came unexpectedly, and I want to share a story with you now because it might help you recognize your own wake-up call when it comes. I was working 14-hour-plus days, workshops every morning, some spilling into the afternoon. I was mentally and physically exhausted. These were happening 5 days a week. By the time that I finished those meetings, by the end of the day, I was done. My regular work was suffering because I couldn't even look at my to-do list. I was drained. My hair was falling out. I was gaining weight. I had not seen my friends. I'd stopped seeing my neighbors. I was isolated. Not because I necessarily wanted to be, but because I needed to be. I was that depleted. I was not living. I was merely existing. Looking back, depression may have been setting in, but I didn't even realize it was happening. I was in survival mode. I had even started by that point applying for jobs in Australia. I had lived there when I was 17. I really wanted to go back, and I thought maybe this is my opportunity. Start over, start a new life, and everything would be better. The reality was, I was running. I was running from myself. I was running from my job. I was running from my unhappiness. I was running from being burned out. I was actually a finalist for a job in Australia, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm moving. And then I didn't get the job, and I had no idea what was next. A couple weeks later, my brother Rob messaged me, and he let me know that he was going to be in Miami to see my niece Melina, and he wanted to see me. I had only seen my brother twice in the last 10 years up to that point. The first time was for my mother's funeral. The second time was for his high school class reunion. And so when I got the phone call that he was going to be in the States, I knew I had to make the effort to go see him. At that point, nothing else mattered. So I did what every rational person would do. I called my boss. I told him, I have to go. I don't have a choice. And I said, forget the workshops. I booked a last-minute trip to Miami, and I left. And for the first time, I chose me. I did something I had not done in nearly 20 years. I went on vacation and left my work laptop behind. Now, that might give some of you guys heart palpitations, and trust me, it used to give them to me too. But it was the best decision I ever made. You know what else I did? I deleted Teams from my phone for those days that I was gone. On that trip, I remembered who I was. I remembered joy. I remembered freedom. I remembered laughter. I remembered spontaneity. And on the way home from that trip, it just so happened in the Atlanta airport in the Delta Sky Lounge, I met the man that I've been with over 2 years now. Crazy, but it is amazing what the universe gives you when you get out of your own way. Fast forward 6 months later, I was laid off. But I wasn't bitter because by that point, I had already begun reclaiming myself. What about you? When was your last wake-up call? Did you listen? Or are you still waiting for permission to hear what your body and spirit have been trying so desperately to tell you? I'd like to help you recognize what that might look like in your own life, because burnout shows up in different ways for each of us. So let's explore some of the more subtle signs that you might be experiencing right now and don't even know it. You might not be on a flight to Miami, but maybe your moments look more like crying in your car before walking into a meeting or walking into the building because you just don't have the energy for another fight. Feeling like a ghost in your own life, caring for everyone, forgetting yourself, expecting to lead when you always follow. Think about that one. Getting praised at work while feeling like you're falling apart at home. Losing interest in everything that used to light you up. You're not the only one. This is real, it's common, and this is why we need to talk about it. The World Health Organization officially recognized burnout as an occupational phenomenon in 2019, characterized by 3 dimensions: energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job or negativism related to one's job, reduced professional efficiency. But what they don't tell you is that burnout rarely stays contained to just your work life. It seeps into everything, as if you didn't already know that. A study from Ohio University found that burnout and emotional exhaustion are strongly associated with strained personal relationships and reduced life satisfaction. In other words, when work drains you, everything else suffers. And here's the thing about high-achieving women specifically. Research from the Anxiety and Depression Association of America shows women are twice as likely as men to experience persistent physical symptoms of stress and anxiety, yet less likely to report them or seek help. You've normalized the exhaustion. You've accepted numbness at the cost of success. You have confused resilience with endurance. And now you're facing what some researchers call a global epidemic of a disconnection. Burnout doesn't always look like a collapse. Sometimes it looks like hyperproductivity in public, numbness in private. Overcommitting at work to avoid your personal realities at home. Thinking, if I can just get through this week, this quarter, this project, not even knowing what you want anymore. This is not weakness, it is a signal. And sometimes, exhaustion is your body's last-ditch effort of asking for help. I want you to take 60 seconds right now and answer this question in your journal or on your phone. What part of your life feels most like you're just going through the motions? Write it down. You do not need a solution. You just need to own the truth. Welcome back. What did you discover? Remember, awareness is the first step to being able to implement your change. And congratulations, you have just taken it. Now let's talk about what research tells us about recovering from the state of numbness and exhaustion. Because there's good news here, and I didn't know it when I was in the thick of it. When I was in the depths of my burnout, I thought the only way out was a complete life overhaul. Quit my job, move across the world, start fresh. But science tells us there's something different and much more accessible. According to the research published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, recovery from burnout is more about the rhythm than the escape. It's about creating what researchers call recovery cycles. In other words, regular periods of mental and physical renewal. The concept of recovery cycles come from the sport science, where athletes actually intentionally build in rest periods in their training in order to maximize their performance. The same principle applies to your mental and emotional bandwidth. Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, physician and the author of Sacred Rest, identifies 7 types of rest you need. Physical rest, which includes sleep and active relaxation. Mental rest, which is cognitive breaks. Sensory rest, reducing stimulation. Creative rest, experiencing awe and beauty. Emotional rest, authenticity and vulnerability. Social rest, engaging with restorative relationships. And spiritual rest, belonging and purpose. Most women are missing at least 3 of these, and no amount of vacation can fix a daily rhythm that is fundamentally depleting. It's especially relevant now as we are seeing what experts call the Great Reflection. According to Gallup's 2023 State of the Global Workplace report, 60% of people are emotionally detached at work, and 19% say that they're downright miserable. But among those that have made intentional changes to their work-life integration, satisfaction scores increase by 30%. The key is identifying which areas of rest you're lacking and then creating micro practices in order to address them. For me, it was emotional and creative rest. I needed spaces where I could fully be myself and experience wonder again. It's probably part of the reason that my word for 2025 is unapologetically. Not because I am trying to be loud or outspoken or irritating. It is that I am for the first time living for who I am. And not everyone needs to understand it. And I encourage you to live life the same. Unapologetically own who you are and stop trying to fake it for everyone else. So let me ask you this. What about you? Which types of rest are you most deprived of? The good news is you don't have to fix everything all at once. And in fact, trying to overhaul your entire life can sometimes create more stress. So let me share some practical strategies that help me move from numbness back to aliveness. And it didn't require me blowing up my entire life. These are evidence-based approaches that can create powerful shifts with minimal effort. Number 1, name it. Give your season a name, not a label. Just be honest. Burnout, survival mode, pivot planning, whatever it is. Why does this work? Research from UCLA found that simply labeling emotions reduces their intensity. When you name what you're experiencing, you actually activate your prefrontal cortex, literally helping your brain process emotions more effectively. Number 2, use the daily check-in list. I created a Power Pivot daily journal that helps you check in with yourself every single day. This way you can track your week, your months. Do you have certain days that you're constantly overwhelmed? Do you see your energy peak in the middle of the week and then start to drop? Or is it a constant downslope? Why does this work? A 2023 study in the Journal of Happiness Studies showed that brief daily reflections actually increase well-being and reduce anxiety by 29% over 8 weeks. Can you imagine helping reduce your anxiety by nearly 30% in 8 weeks? It's worth a shot, right? Number 3, choose one boundary. Maybe it's no meetings after 4 p.m. Maybe it's no laptops on the weekends. Make one small line in the sand that you can stick to. And this works because setting boundaries is not about saying no. It's actually about creating psychological safety for yourself. Research shows that clear boundaries actually increase productivity and engagement, not decrease them. Number 4, find your tipping point activity. This is a concept from positive psychology. Identify a small activity that shifts your state of mind. For some people, it's a 10-minute walk. For others, it is playing a musical instrument, putting on angry music and screaming at the top of your lungs, or calling a specific friend. But this works because state-shifting activities interrupt patterns and activities, parasympathetic nervous system responses. But this works because state-shifting activities help you break out of autopilot mode. Number 5, practical, radical acceptance. This does not mean resignation. It actually means acknowledging your current state reality without judgment, which paradoxically creates a space for change. And this works because acceptance and commitment therapy research shows that fighting reality creates additional suffering. So when you stop expending energy on resistance, you have more resources for intentional change. Remember, your life doesn't change all at once. It shifts. And then you do. In my case, I started with 20 minutes of no phone time in the morning. I would set a timer and I would read a professional business book. That led to setting email boundaries, which led to reconnecting with friends, which led to remembering what I actually love doing. And it led me here today. Remember, small hinges swing big doors. As we come to a close of our time together here today, I want to leave you with a final thought that I hope will stay with you long after this episode ends. The World Economic Forum recently published a report calling for a new definition of success, one that values sustainability, well-being, and fulfillment over linear achievements and constant growth. I believe you are at the forefront of this shift. You are part of a generation of women who are saying, there has to be a better way. And there is. You do not need to be at rock bottom to decide it's time for a shift. You do not need to prove how hard you've worked. You just need to choose yourself. Let this episode be your turning point. Because you're not lazy, you're numb. And it's time for you to feel alive again. Download the free Power Pivot Daily Journal to help you check in, reconnect, and remember who you are. If you're ready to go deeper, coaching is part of what I do. You don't have to figure this out alone. Let's talk. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. And until next week, stay fierce, stay bold, but most importantly, stay unapologetically you.